For years, hip-hop felt snubbed by the Grammys, but all that changed this year with hip-hop dominating the nominations. Is it finally getting the respect it deserves? In the Album of the Year category, Jay-Z, with his groundbreaking 444 album, is squaring off with another hip-hop heavyweight, Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick's album could bring him that coveted gold gramophone. The superstar square-off is a sign hip-hop is finally being taken seriously, says Sowmya Krishnamurthy.
Hip-hop is the biggest genre, not just as a cultural force, but also on the streaming platforms. You're seeing literally billions of streams. So it's really time for hip-hop to have its rightful place.
You look at Nielsen music reports, and hip-hop was 25%, like it was the most popular genre.
These expensive, these is red bottoms, these is bloody shoes.
Cardi B's multi-platinum hit Bodak Yellow earned her 2 nominations for Best Rap Song and Best Rap Performance. While the song is undoubtedly a hit on its own, the Bronx rapper earned new fans with her personality, says Adelle Platon of Tidal.
You take Cardi B, for example, and you follow her on Instagram, and you feel like that's your homegirl because, you know, she keeps it so relatable, she keeps it really down to earth, and on top of that, you really love her music.
Woo, 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 woo. Records on records, got backers on backers, I'm riding around in a cool. I take your
For the first time ever, the Grammys allowed for online voting and the establishment of a rap committee. Each genre has its own secret committee of established industry insiders who know music from the inside out. It's a sign of shifting attitudes, says Krishnamurthy.
Hip-hop has oftentimes been viewed as a trend, as a fad, but it's here to stay as a musical genre, as a cultural genre, as really a force as part of American culture.
So what's behind hip-hop's big year? Let's find out what our panel has to say. With Adelle Platon, she's a culture and content editor for Tidal. Adelle, great to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Also with us is Safaree. He's a hip-hop artist and actor, star of Love and Hip Hop New York. His latest single is Paradise. Safaree, great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Also with us is Sowmya Krishnamurthy. She's a music journalist. And Sowmya, let me start with you on this. As you look at the nominations and you look at the artists that are being recognized just with the nominations, what do you think?
I think for the first time we can say hip-hop has arrived at the Grammys. So Jay-Z leads the pack with 8 nominations, followed by Kendrick Lamar with 7. So the fact that 2 major hip-hop acts are leading the Grammy nomination pack really says a lot for a genre that not too long ago was pretty much left outside.
And Safaree, as a hip-hop artist and as a personality on Love and Hip Hop New York and actor, do you feel that artists today, too, in 2018 are looking at their careers a lot differently like you are?
Yeah, it's definitely not like how it was back in the day. I feel like now artists are more like not just saying, okay, I only do music. Like everyone is trying to have their hands in every single different pot of entertainment, whether it be a clothing line, whether it be a perfume, and it's just not only music anymore.
It's just a whole big picture. And Adele, Tidal as a streaming giant, music giant, what do you see as do we look at artists in a different way now? Is that part of the reason that hip hop is being recognized so much more and so much more popular?
Well, first off, you know, streaming makes up a huge part of how consumers get their music these days. You know, you look at Nielsen music numbers, you look at the Billboard charts, and a lot of the songs that are popular on streaming services end up becoming like, you know, the cultural anthems, so to speak. So you look at someone like Cardi B, who's, you know, nominated in 2 categories for Bodak Yellow. That song dominated streaming services, but you also, you know, you go to streaming services to kind of find out who this artist is. So if you go on Tidal, you get a documentary about Cardi B and her rise from, you know, being in the Bronx and just making a rap career. And so I feel like there's always this thirst for more hip-hop and just getting more, getting closer to the artists themselves.
So personality is even more important than ever before.
Absolutely. I feel like personality now is, when people connect with your personality, your music could not even be that great. It'll make them like your music more just because they like you as a person.
Really? So doing the reality shows actually helps. I mean, we see a lot of artists who do reality shows for a period of time, and then it does help their careers too. And you think it's because of that?
Yeah, like I feel like before I got on the show, people didn't really know my personality, so they didn't really like me like that. But then as soon as I got on the show and people started to see how funny I was and just how like just not taking myself so seriously, it made more and more people just start gravitating towards me, and made more people start saying, yo, I like him. I like his personality, I like his music, I want him to win, and it's just off of personality, because I didn't have a hit smash song out. And then my song Paradise, as soon as people started to see me more, connect with me more, that's my first video to get over 1 million views, and the streams and everything are going up on it. So
that really fueled it and got it going. So I mean, in terms of how we look at music too, because some of the people that have been in hip hop for a while will say, you know what, you used to have an entire album, you used to have a whole bunch of hit singles before you could even think of being nominated for a Grammy, but it's very different now.
Absolutely. I think a big turning point was Chance the Rapper. When Coloring Book came out, it was the first streaming-only project to be both nominated and to win a Grammy. So that was a game changer, because a lot of hip-hop artists, they're not putting out commercial records, like you go to the store, pick up a CD. That's just not something that they're doing. So the fact that now you can have a streaming-only album and it's eligible to be part of the Grammys, it opens up the conversation to way more artists.
And then in terms of the Adele, in terms of the sound too, the hip hop sound. There's so many different genres within hip hop as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's different subgenres. I mean, you know, the great thing about hip hop is that there's something for everybody. You know, you could be a fan of Lil Uzi Vert, but then also consider Jay-Z's 444 your favorite album, and so it definitely speaks to just the cultural aspect in terms of whether it's addressing political or societal issues, or whether it's just, you know, turning up at the club. And so there's something that's different for everyone, and I feel like if you look at the Grammy nominations this year, that's, you know, it's represented in the nominations.
Because it was always it was always like there would be one rap album, or there would be one rap song versus all of these other songs, and then this year it's like there's hardly any rock music, I think, if any.
If any, right, yeah. And I mean, I think it's just a part of...
Please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, like hip hop being so pervasive in the culture, not just in music, but in pop culture. So Jay-Z's not just one of the biggest rappers, he's just one of the biggest celebrities or personalities. So I think you see hip hop really hitting different touch points now, and I think not just sort of as fans, but also people who nominate and vote on the Grammys, they just kind of, you know, have finally got familiar in 2018.
And the music and the sound as well. Safaree, how do you feel like, in terms of artists you look up to that have come before you, who do you look up to? Anyone on that Grammy nomination list?
Of course, you know, the regulars like Jay-Z, but I feel like to say look up is a very, that's just not something I would use, especially like, but I love Jay-Z.
Or respect? People that you respect a certain part of their craft or a certain part of their career management or career direction?
I would have to go with Jay-Z all the way. Like, he's the blueprint of how anybody who raps would want their career to go.
In terms of the business, in terms of the creativity, in terms of still bringing it.
And standing your ground and saying, you know what, if they don't like this and they don't agree with how I'm moving, what I'm doing, I'm just not going to do with them, and I'm going to do my own thing.
Adele, what about that in terms of Jay? Because he has gone through so many generations, and so many generations still find him totally relevant.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the longevity, too. When you have someone who's just had so many accolades given to him and, you know, has put forth 13 studio albums and has been able to make his name relevant, even after, like, taking a break in between and becoming a father, but really putting himself out there, especially on an album like 444, and releasing these visuals and these short films to match each song and, like, the significant cultural importance of each. Like, you just don't get that anywhere else.
All right, we're going to take a short break. This is Street Soldiers. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. We'll be back right after this.
There's no reason on God's green earth that Nicki should not have a Grammy.
Help me understand how the Grammys pick the people that they're going to pick, Sowmya. Like, can just anybody vote? Can you, like, who gets to vote on these things? It's like some silent majority of people in the music business?
There's a Grammy committee, and you have to have at least 6 credits or on a project, either technical or creative, on a project. So this could be a producer, a songwriter. I'm sure Safaree is eligible to vote as part of the Grammy process.
Or be friends with the right people. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of politics involved.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's something a lot of people have talked about, is this idea that, you know, like, for instance, myself, I've worked in the industry for over a decade, but I don't have technical or creative credits on any records, but I could definitely vote on, you know, the hip hop category. So that's something actually a lot of people people talk about are these kind of weird, sort of archaic rules of who gets to vote and is it really democratic?
Because it is a music industry wide, like they're doing a special honor for Leonard Bernstein on the, on the classical side, and there's just this. It is a huge industry. But Adele, what about the, what about the rap community you think was disadvantaged in the past that maybe changed?
Well, this is the first year that there's an actual rap committee, so it's an anonymous committee that is comprised of songwriters, engineers, producers, basically to Sowmya's point, and they're the ones that are basically.
I'm not part of that committee.
They're basically,
even though you've interviewed a lot of these artists.
Yes, yeah. They're basically the ones who are, looking at the songs that were submitted, whether it's by the artists themselves, labels, whatever team submitted to be eligible for the Grammys, and then looking and seeing, which represents the culture the best. And I feel like that's what makes such a difference this year.
You know what that means? That every year in the past, people are always complaining about who didn't win Grammys. Oh, this person should have won. That means this year might be the first year that people in the rap world might actually be getting the Grammys that they should have gotten in the past that they didn't.
Oh, that's a good point.
Absolutely, yeah, because you think about it, right? Does someone in country music or classical music, what do they really know about, an Uzi Vert, for example? They may see that name on a ballot and just kind of go on to the next. So that's also happened in the past where artists with name recognition, kind of quote-unquote mainstream or commercial artists tend to win, but I think that's because people outside of the genre within the industry knew who they were.
Are familiar with the name.
There's no reason on God's green earth that Nicki should not have a Grammy.
There you go.
If you really think about it.
No, 100%.
There you go.
Look at what she's done, her records, her numbers. There's no reason on God's green earth that she should not have a Grammy.
100%. And there's and also too, it's like the categories. If it's best album, it can be best pop album, and it's all the different genres are competing against, against each other. So it's not like country music where it's only country music awards.
Yeah.
And having that representation, through the rap committee, it also helps hip hop artists actually get more shine in general field categories. So, to see Kendrick Lamar and to see Jay-Z in the best album of the year, and the last time that an artist has ever won that category was when Outkast won for Speaker Box, The Love Below in 2003, and before that it was Lauryn Hill for Miss Education of Lauryn Hill in 1999. So it's been a while since hip hop artists got shine in the general field categories. But having that representation, allows for people to weigh in and say, what, this category seems uneven. Let's shake it up a bit.
But do you think they need to have more specific categories like best pop album, best rap album, best and a male and a female category too as well, or is that
Absolutely.
Just
like
you think
the MTV Awards or the BET Awards? Like, they separate everything. I think it should be separated.
See, I'm against the whole gender separation. I know we've talked about this sort of for women in hip hop, this idea that, in my opinion, Nicki is one of the best rappers, period. It's not about being the best female rapper. So I feel someone like her specifically, she can go head to head with any of the guys. And I think, especially when it comes to music, there's no reason to break it out by gender, not in 2018, in my opinion.
And
not gender, but categories.
Category in terms of the sound.
And there are specific genre categories, but when it comes to the Grammys, like Adele mentioned, album of the year, record of the year, these are the big records that everyone wants to win, because it shows not only are you the best in your genre, but you're the best in your industry. So those are the categories artists are really excited about, because it's called music's biggest night. You're in a room of not just your peers, but people that you admire, people from different genres. I think like Neil Diamond is going to be in the room. That's a big deal to really get honored in front of some of the greats in all of music.
Throughout all those categories. Adele, what do you think about that, the category idea?
I believe...
or classifications.
Yeah, I believe back in the day they used to have, they broke it into gender-specific categories, but then they did away with it. They discontinued it. And I also agree, I don't think that we need to separate, the best female artist in a certain category, because everyone has talent. It doesn't matter if you're a female or male.
Right, and creativity is gender neutral.
Yes.
And I think that's also a way to hold women back, especially women artists in hip hop. It's a great way of saying, okay, you stay in your lane. You only compete with, these 5 people or these 6 people, especially because, men far outnumber women. So I think for a female artist, you want to see that you're the best in your genre, the best in your craft, not just kind of within this arbitrary pool.
Let's talk about who do you feel, in your opinion, Sowmya, got the biggest snub this year?
For me, the biggest snub was A Tribe Called Quest. So they put out an excellent record, their last record as a collective, and it got, you know, totally overlooked. I'm sure fans remember Q-Tip had some words about that on social media, but I think as hip-hop fans and also in the industry, we were really surprised. You know, that seemed like one of those records that was just so culturally relevant and just their legacy, and I think to snub them was really sad to see.
What do you think about that, Adele?
I agree. That was one of my favorite records, and to see that it didn't make the nominations list, I was just a little shocked. And you know, again, it speaks to the fact that they're legacy artists, and they came back with a resilient album. You know, given everything that happened with Fife, it's just like every hip hop fan, you know, it was really emotionally attached to that album, and to see it not make the nominations list, it was just a little.
Why do you think that was?
Got to be some behind-the-scene politics or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and I think, you know, what you said earlier about this idea of like friends nominating friends, voting for friends, I think, you know, that matters a lot. But the other part is, I think, as sort of fans, we're so fickle, right? Like, we listen to a record this week and we forget about it next week. And sometimes when a record dropped, you know, a long time ago, again, couple of months ago, people forget about it, and you know, it's unfortunate, but I think we kind of have a little bit of
short attention span. Yeah.
With hip hop, it's like you have to do so much to prove yourself, and it's like if a hot song comes out and as a rapper and you're like, okay, this is the new hot song, I'm gonna freestyle on this, then the next week a new hot song gonna come out, okay, I gotta freestyle on this too, and it's like you gotta keep on proving yourself, and as you keep on proving yourself, people are gonna forget about what you did 2 weeks ago, and it's just a recurring cycle.
You're only as good as your last stream.
Yep.
You know, like before you could have a single, let it run, and if it was, you know, popular, it would run much longer than even, you know, the label had scheduled it to run. But now, after that one stream, okay, it's on to the next, and every week there's a new chart, new playlist being curated, there's a new flavor of the week, a new sound, a new hot producer, new rapper. It's hard, I think, especially for hip hop as a genre. I think sometimes even good music, good artists, they kind of get disposed of pretty quickly, which is unfortunate.
And not the time to develop. Adele, what about that? Because that's what some people have talked about too, and just the way that we consume music, the way that we listen to music. There used to be, you know, the whole album would come out, be done, and then there would be singles dropped off that. There would be a major promotional tour. There'd be, you know, there'd be performances.
In-store signing,
you know,
everything, like Virgin Mega
right,
Store,
like everything right before the Christmas shopping season.
That's why people got to connect with your personality now.
Absolutely.
Because if they don't connect with your personality and they just like this song, you're like, okay, I like this song, but I don't really know nothing about this artist. Like, okay, I don't really care about you like that, but I like this song. Okay, I'm over this song, so I'm over you.
And I think Cardi B was able to really be the best of both worlds, because definitely that's a very catchy song, but I think a lot of people just really love her personality, and that was able
started rapping.
Yeah, and that was able to get her, you know, magazine covers, interviews, major press placements. So even after the song kind of came and went, it still had a cultural impact, and I think that helped her a lot with her Grammy noms.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, you know, again, it goes back to just how everybody has just a thirst for more and more content every single day. So I think, like, across the board, everybody knows that, you know, Friday at midnight, that's when all the new music comes out, and so everybody has like their own private listening parties from wherever, because they can access it via a streaming service like Tidal. And so when you look at the Grammy nominations, I think it's also because the Recording Academy was getting flack for being caught up in the past and just, like, you know, being stuck in their old ways, and I think that's why they had to change the rules about, you know, allowing for online streaming numbers to be you know, a part of the category, introducing the rap committee. And so you know, it's just the way that we consume music really dictates who is culturally relevant and who is hot.
I want to thank all of you for being with us for this episode of Street Soldiers. Adelle Platon, culture and content editor for Tidal, Safaree hip-hop artist and actor. You see him on Love and Hip Hop New York, latest single is Paradise.
Ooh.
And Sowmya Krishnamurthy, music journalist. I want to thank all of you for being with us.
Tidal, all right?
And we're Versace.
For this episode of Street Soldiers, I'm Lisa Evers. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. Let's push for peace.